Emblems of Power. Prologue. Go out the back, go out the back, the farmer yelled to his family. He held two horses with one muscular hand by the reins. His three daughters and wife stared at him drowsily from the front porch of their home. Cows and other livestock fled southward, trying to escape the growing darkness that consumed the farmland behind them. His youngest daughter, a 4-year-old with blonde, wispy hair whipping about her face, stepped towards him. The wife snatched her up before she placed a foot on the blackened ground. "Come on, girls, out the back," the wife said gently, putting her arms in front of her daughters. Darkness lashed across the earth like an uneven wave, eagerly searching for any portion of life. The farmer looked back at his farm one last time. The once vibrant and green barley fields lay flat, lifeless and gray, twitching like rotting silica in the wind. The farmer guided the horses on clean ground to the backside of the house. His family met him at the steps, and he handed the reins to his oldest daughter of 16. Without saying a word, he aided his wife in mounting the lead horse. His wife settled easily in the saddle. "What's happening, Daddy? Why do we have to go?" the youngest daughter asked. The farmer hefted her up to the first horse to sit behind her mother. "No time to explain," he said softly, trying to cover the tremble in his voice. The oldest daughter handed the reins up to her mother. "I'll see you in Varlette," the wife called as she kicked the horse into a gallop. She held her youngest tightly against her with her left arm. The other daughter wrapped her arm around her mother's waist. The oldest daughter's knuckles turned white as she gripped the reins of the second horse. "Up you go now," the farmer said as he helped his oldest daughter mount the horse. She held out a hand for her father. With her aid and adrenaline and a little of a running start, the father pulled himself up. He grabbed the reins and kicked the horse firmly in the ribs. Dirt clods and tufts of grass flung behind the horses as they charged away from the home. Tears formed in the daughter's eyes and mixed with the dirt on her face, creating brown, muddy trails down to her chin. The farmer caught up with his wife and other daughters. The wife focused ahead as she held her youngest close to her in one arm. The second daughter cinched her hands around her mother and kept her head down and out of the dirt and wind. Neither asked how the other was doing. As the crest of the sun rose, he saw black ground and vegetation stretching across the horizon. The farmer turned to focus on the road. He and his wife glanced at each other and grimaced. Worse was yet to come. The blackening earth ceased to spread, but they urged their horses ahead. Stopping or slowing would mean death. A deafening boom pounded across the air far behind them. The wife's horse bolted, galloping faster than before. The farmer's horse reared up and turned, throwing both he and his daughter. The daughter had lost her grip and rolled away. The farmer took a fall squarely on his back. Pain shot through his spine. The boom reverberated in the air, and the earth began to crack and break. The farmer searched for his daughter. She was kneeling on the side of the road with her ears covered. She screamed repeatedly, unheard from the sounds of breaking earth. The farmer staggered to his feet and stumbled over to her as the ground shook. He knelt next to her, guided her up, grabbed her by the hand, and chased the horse. "Do you see your mother?" he asked, trying to keep his daughter's eyes focused ahead. A look back would slow them. The daughter read his lips, still unable to hear him over the sound of the earthquake. She shook her head as they ran. The earth undulated, and both fell a second time. The cracking and booming sounds intensified and struck them in their chests. Red and green arcs of light shot out of the chasm and formed a web around the rotating segment of falling earth. The next instant, the web sliced through the stone. As boulder and rocks tumbled into the fissure, streaks of red fire shot out, weaving between the falling debris. When the flames passed the obstacles, they paused and fell, arcing towards the ground. "Run!" the father yelled as he pushed himself up. His daughter stayed kneeling, ears covered. He raced to her, picked her up, lifted her in his arms, and sprinted. Pain disappeared as he surged ahead. Trees and surrounding crops blurred into a sudden blackness. Fire crackled closely behind him, shooting out of the fissure and diving towards him and his daughter. He jumped forward and lay flat, covering his daughter with his body. The flames missed the farmer's neck by inches. A searing heat followed, and hit the farmer's shirt. He looked down at his daughter. She was still alive and gazing at the fire. It glowed a deathly orange, red, and green, peeling off with each gust of wind. Whatever plant life survived the blackening earth started to burn. The farmer stood up with his daughter and continued their run south. His muscles cramped and tightened as he moved. The pain in his legs shot through to his hips and then into his back. Every stride, step, and motion stabbed at his bones. The road to Varlette was a quarter-mile ahead before turning further south. The farmer made a mental goal to reach that turn, hoping to see his wife galloping away. He forced each step forward. At the turn in the road, a wave of water rushed from around the corner, pushing green fire in its flow. The wave slammed into one of the oak trees, breaking the limbs clean off. Two groups appeared from around the turn as the water subsided. One group he recognized as the Tessír guard, and the other as conduits. Their trousers and shirts had metal plating sewn into shins, thighs, arms, and shoulder sections. The leather gloves the guards wore had similar metal protections along the back of the hands. The conduits, dressed in white shirts and pants with lace-up sleeves, had a blue, green, or purple stripe down their sides. The farmer grabbed his daughter's hand and they ran towards the guard. As they ran, a portion of the soldiers sprinted past them. When the farmer reached the guard, they surrounded him and his daughter. Within the circle was one of the guard and a female conduit. The guard member was a large, dark-colored man. He wore the three-pronged iron amulet of the lieutenant around his neck. "My name is Lieutenant Neuvon. This is Mearto, a healer. Are either of you hurt?" He spoke in a deep voice, but it was soft and concerned. The farmer looked at his daughter. "Nothing we can't manage," the farmer said, grimacing. "Good," the lieutenant said. "There's a caravan in Varlette waiting to take you to the capital." Neuvon whistled, and two of the guards turned to face the family. "These two men will ensure you get there safely." "My wife, did you see her? And my other two daughters?" the farmer asked frantically. "They're being taken to Varlette," Mearto said, pointing down the road. The conduit, a woman, had a purple stripe down the side of her uniform. She had shoulder-length red hair, fair skin, and blue stormy eyes. "Continue and join the caravan. It'll take you to safety. Hurry." The evening air of Noiknaer was uncommonly damp. The wet winds from the southern sea moved north, sticking to the cement walls and buildings. The moisture settled in every crevice and corner of the city. On the east side of the capital, half a mile south of the entry gate, were the barracks. Across a narrow alleyway from there were the horse stables. A boy, Joren, caretaker of the animals and newly turned 12, was rail thin and had not yet had his growth spurt. He finished his last trip to the fountain at the center of the city, carrying 2 buckets with a pole laid across his shoulders. He filled the horse trough with the water he carried and dipped his hand in it to take a drink. Then he splashed his curly blonde hair. The taste of sweat and minerals tickled his tongue. The white horse housed in that stall nudged him and nibbled at his shirt. All right, Joren said softly, rubbing his wet palm down the horse's neck. "At least one of us should eat before the day is done." Joren put his hands on the ladder to the hayloft, but stopped. He turned and watched a woman, wearing the brown dress and red shawl of the night workers, hurry to the barracks. She cautiously made her way up the stairway entrance, carrying a bundle of something close to her chest. She slammed on the large wooden double doors with a clenched fist. Open up! Open up!" she yelled. "Captain! Someone! Anyone! Open up!" "Dinner'll have to wait," Joren told the horse before he made his way over to the harlot. He blushed as he came closer. She noticed him and wrapped the lower part of her face with the red fabric. Joren took a step back, seeing an infant in her arms. The babe let out a soft cry and fussed. "What's wrong?" Joren asked. "It's the captain," she said as she continued banging on the door. "I need to see him. It's an emergency." "Captain!" she yelled towards the barracks again. As she yelled, the infant cried louder. She held the baby tightly against her breast and turned towards Joren. It's the child. His life is at stake. I'll get you to him, Joren said. He took a key from his pocket, unlocked the door, and led her into the barracks. Her bare feet slapped against the marble tile as they rushed through the hallway towards the captain's office. Joren knocked on the door twice. "Captain, it's Joren. There's an emergency," he said as he knocked a third time. The door opened and the captain looked at him and then at the woman. He was much taller than both of them, with sandy, shoulder-length hair. Sculpted muscles bulged from beneath his shirt. He wore a four-pronged amulet of silver around his neck, the insignia of his office, title, and name. Sweat rolled down his square jaw and beaded above his upper lip. "What's the emergency?" the captain said slowly, slightly annoyed. "Take my son and protect him," the harlot said, cradling her child in her arms tightly. The captain leaned forward and looked at the child. "Who are you that I would take him?" he asked, taking a cautious step backwards. The captain looked at her again, seeing her bare feet, brown dress, and red shawl. That garb was known throughout the city, as well as the characters of women who wore it. Their children ended up as beggars, gate workers, or dock urchins searching for any laborious work. "You're a harlot. Don't pass him on to me," the captain said. The woman backed away and held the child tightly. "He'll grow up within the gates just like every other bastard." The captain began to shut the door. "This son knows his father," the woman said firmly. She slowly removed her shawl from around her face and let it fall to the floor. The captain's eyes widened. Her hair was black as night, and her skin was as tan as the desert sand, with a scar across her right eyebrow. She stared at the captain, torch and candlelight reflecting off her stern and forceful blue eyes. "Anna," the captain whispered. "And you, at one time, knew me," she whispered back. "That's putting it lightly. The months and days you spent seducing me, luring me to you. And how did I repay you? I took you as a wife." Anna lowered her head as the captain continued. "I took you out of the brothel. I put a roof over your head, food on your plate. I made sure you had everything. You never had to be there again. I more than lusted after you. I loved you. I'd say that is more than knowing you. And you left. There was no reason. I had my reason," Anna said softly. She looked down at the child. "And was the child, our child, the reason? Tell me it wasn't so. It doesn't matter now." "It does matter. You will answer me as captain of the guard." Anna looked up at him. "Please, Captain, trust me as you once did. You are the child's father. A man is hunting me because of my heritage. If he discovers my son, our son, he will be hunted and killed. He must never know that I am his mother. You will never speak to him of me. He is your son. Look on him. You'll see I speak the truth." The captain looked down at the infant. He had his mother's eyes, nose, lips, and hair, but he also had the captain's jaw, forehead, and ears. "What is in the past is done. I believe and trust what you say. Who's hunting you?" the captain asked. He looked at Joren. "Go gather my senior guard." "No," Anna said. She put her thin hand on the captain's arm. His skin chilled at her touch. "Do as you're told, Joren. She has no authority here." Joren saluted and ran down the hall. "We can protect you," he said to Anna. "No, for the sake of our child, no one can ever know I was here. Please, as a last act for him, our child, let me go. Do not follow me." The captain stood with arms folded across his chest, looking at his son and Anna. "I'll concede that I'm his father, but I will not allow you to walk away. Who is hunting you?" "I don't know. I'll elude him easily enough. I am a woman of the night, and the night knows me. It will hide me safely." When she finished speaking, 10 guards had jogged up in formation and stood at attention behind her. The captain smiled at the group and pointed at the guards. "Who here has taken care of an infant before?" he asked. One of the guards stepped forward. The captain smiled again. The guard's name was Osguud. He was of average height, younger than the rest of the senior guard members, and came from a family of 8. "Osgood, take the infant for the evening. You may stay in my quarters until I return. Osgood removed his chainmail shirt, sword, shield, and helmet and handed them to the guard at his left. He walked up to Anna, blushing, and held his arms in a cradle-like pose. Slowly, Anna transferred the infant to the guard's arms, her tan, smooth skin brushing against his. Your equipment will be placed in my quarters as well, for the time being. The rest of you, keep Anna here. She claims that someone hunts her. Yes, sir, the guards replied in unison. The baby cried from the noise. Osgood rocked the infant gently in his arms and walked into the captain's quarters and shut the door. He must never know of me, Anna said. I fear that his life will end if he ever finds out. Swear to me on your life and the life of your guard that he will never know of me. The captain looked at his quarters. The infant stopped crying. Swear to me, Anna said again. I swear it, the captain said. Anna wrapped her shawl back around her face, and the captain put a hand on her shoulder. He pulled a loose string from his shirt and gave it to her for safety. What is his name? Kosai. Anna wrapped the strings round her finger and held it tightly to her chest. She smiled at him, turned, stepped silently past the guard, and then sprinted away, running into the dark. After her, the captain ordered. You too, Joren. Joren nodded and ran out of the barracks behind the guard. It was a moonless night. Candles and fires from homes illuminated the streets in dim yellow light. The captain looked in all directions, searching for Anna, but saw no sign of her. The guard split up, fanning out in all directions, trying to find a clue which way she fled. Joren stalked behind the stable and stared south down Outer Road. A few squares of light shone on the dusty road from the homes nearby, but the street was empty. He turned around and looked north and saw Anna race towards the gate. Joren drew a large arrow in the dust with his foot, pointing in the direction of the gate, gave a high-pitched whistle, and took off after her. The guard caught up to him, but stopped as Anna paused at the gate. Her arms were stiff at her sides, as if coiled by a large serpent. A low, dark cloud, carried by a cold wind, rolled over the wall. Purple lightning flashed in the vapor as it passed the gate tower. Thunder boomed. Joren lifted his hand to protect his eyes. The cloud descended into the street and surrounded Anna. Lightning snapped twice within the darkness and evaporated into the night. Joren stared at the gate, unsure of what he had seen. He turned to race towards the barracks, but stopped. The captain stood behind him, his face without emotion as he glared at where Anna had once been. Sir, did you see that? Joren asked, shaking. Yes, the captain said, trembling. What are we going to do? The captain looked at the towers and frowned. Go to the barracks, check on the child, tell no one what you have seen. There will be an extra piece of silver for you in the morning if you keep your mouth shut. The boy nodded and made his way back to the barracks, but the captain remained. He looked up at the tower next to the gate. He rubbed his bare chin when one of the senior guards jogged up to the captain and stood at attention. Your orders, sir. Hand me your sword and stand watch. I don't want any civilians coming anywhere near that gate. The guard saluted, gave the captain his blade, and passed the orders on to his group. The captain stalked to the tower that oversaw the gate. He had to duck to make it through the doorway and lowered his head as he bounded up a set of tight spiraling stone stairs. When he reached the top of the stairs, he pushed open a trap door, pulled himself onto the viewing platform, and nearly dropped his weapon. His eyes widened with anger. Blood covered the floor and walls, smeared in violet streaks across the boards and cement. The guards stationed here were missing, but now presumed dead. The captain examined the watchtower, seeing bits of hair and flesh across the blood, handprints painted against the wall. He grunted in frustration, finding his own trail back to the door. The dark fog that consumed Anna materialized around him. The captain gripped the sword again and turned towards the cloud. Captain, a deep voice said in a slow and velvety voice. Show yourself, the captain hissed back. The vapors concentrated in front of the captain, and a black hooded figure appeared. The captain stabbed the figure with his sword, but the being was not affected by the strike. You cannot kill me, it said as it pushed the captain away. The blade pulled free from the being as if it was cutting air. The figure held a thin brown leather strap connected to a glass vial that was filled with a dark, swirling liquid. The container dangled beneath the figure's hand, swaying slowly. Anna is gone, but I have a need of you and your guard. Who are you? The captain growled. You will serve me in time. I'll call on you again. As the figure turned away, the captain slashed downward. The blade sliced through the enemy's neck, but the figure vanished without harm. The cloud lifted, and the captain stood in the tower on the blood of one of his soldiers.